I'm explaining a film from 2013 titled Gaten Ragnarok. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the content. The story begins in an old environment, where the Vikings are prepared to battle something, which turns out to be a massive snake.
Step back.
Behind you!
The setting then shifts to the modern era, where an archaeologist named Sigurd Svendsen appears. He is an expert in the study of ancient Norse people known as the Vikings. This was done to cure his loneliness after being abandoned for 5 years by his wife, who is also an archaeologist. Sigurd is also a single father who raised a daughter named Ragnhild and a son. His son is named Brage. In terms of his work as an archaeologist, Sigurd has yet to achieve results he can be proud of. So to speak, just enough to cover the basic needs of himself and his 2 children. One of his greatest discoveries today is the discovery of the legendary Viking ship Oseberg. In fact, the entire process of researching this ship has cost a lot of money. This disappointed the museum sponsors, and before Sigurd's investors showed his wife's notes written before his death. The investors even withdrew their research funding. In his late wife's notebook, Sigurd claims that there is a record of Ragnarok. The legend is that a giant snake lived on a lake in northern Norway. Or in other words, at that time the Vikings discovered a great secret that had not been revealed until now. It turned out that the investors present were not impressed with the story, they were even more disappointed and assumed that Sigurd was delusional. The situation became more complicated, and with Sigurd's work becoming more and more unclear. Sigurd even forgot to let his daughter sing in front of the school on her graduation day. The girl was very disappointed in her father's ignorant attitude. Sigurd is actually not stupid, it's just that he feels confused when entangled in economic problems, while having to raise 2 children who still need money. Until that evening his colleague Alan came to visit him, bringing with him a rock specimen found in a remote part of northern Norway. This is also the site that has been the subject of their research so far, and from initial observations, Sigurd concluded that the inscription on the stone was not a word, but a description of a code. In addition, Sigurd also identified a symbol that reminded him of something, the Oseberg ship. They then immediately went to retrieve the remains of the Oseberg from the museum, from which they were able to decipher the cipher containing most of the secret symbols. The cipher was explained that it was a map, directions to the deposit of treasure belonging to the Vikings. Adventure Sigurd then decided to start his summer vacation with his children. They went to the place where Sigurd was doing his research. There they meet Alan's friend, Elizabeth, as well as a man named Leif, who will guide them. The adventure begins by traversing mountains and valleys. They come to a point where they have to overcome a fence built at the time of the Second World War. Although the fence was hung with a warning sign against trespassing, they still dared to enter. In short, they come to a lake, in the middle of which is a small island that Sigurd identifies as the Eye of Odin. This is the first lake visited by the Vikings in the early scene of the film. They then crossed by using a raft to reach the island. Arriving on the island they began to explore deeper, until at one point when Ragnhild found an abandoned barracks left by the former Soviet army. Likewise with Brage, Sigurd's son, who found a large cave leading downwards, and with a very large diameter as well. Then all of these groups went down using ropes. The road seemed to be connected to the next cave. Alan accidentally found a helmet left by the Vikings and also other objects such as metal and so on. Meanwhile Brage also found an egg-shaped object at the bottom of the water flow in the cave. Out of curiosity Brage took the object and put it in his backpack. Before finding the egg, Brage shouted at his father, but that caught Leif's attention. With curiosity, Leif found out what Brage had found, but Leif accidentally broke another egg. When Sigurd was excited about his discovery, Leif suddenly pointed his gun. Apparently Leif didn't want to give Sigurd and his friends the discovery. Greedy Leif took all the discoveries and left Sigurd and the others trapped in the cave. Leif, who felt he had obtained a treasure, then rushed to leave the island. Leif uses a raft to take him to the initial location where the car is parked, but he doesn't realize that something from the lake is stalking him. It turned out that the mother of the egg that Leaf had stepped on earlier was targeting him. Returned to the cave where Sigurd and the others were trapped. Elizabeth was eventually forced to extend the cave wall with her bare hands. Fortunately, she made it to the top, then used a rope to help the others out. Since the raft is no longer there, they now have no means of transport to cross. Sigurd decides to spend the night on that island. Sigurd then talks to Alan about what happened to the Vikings there because only helmets and the remaining bones are left. Alan accidentally found a thong stuck in the skull, so they decided to go back to the cave. Meanwhile, two children Elizabeth and Sigurd fall asleep in the barracks without them knowing that the egg in the bag has hatched. Sigurd and Alan are now in the cave. After exploring deeper they found something surprising, and they also found no treasure. They only found mass graves. Through the records of Sigurd's wife he concluded that this cave was inhabited by a giant creature thousands of years old. Not only that, but they also found the skull of a Soviet soldier. This shows that they are not the first to enter the cave to learn about the Vikings. Suddenly in the cave a roar rang out. Sigurd and Alan then fled, and from where they were hiding they saw a very large snake passing by. Meanwhile in the barracks, a baby snake appears to wake the children up. Elizabeth also wakes up and catches the baby snake in a box. The baby snake screamed, the impact of the scream creating a vibration that was transmitted through the wire leading to the lake. Because of this, the mother snake tried to save her baby by dragging the whole barracks into the lake. Elizabeth and the children were almost dragged into the lake. Fortunately Sigurd and Alan rushed to save them.
The door is stuck! Save us! Daddy!
They try to salvage whatever they can to get off the island. Alan accidentally found the box containing the baby snake. This box did not seem to sink. Then Alan secretly put the box in his bag. They were going to cross the river by rope. After making sure the rope was strong enough, one by one began to cross. Alan, Brage and Ragnhild made it through safely. Now it's Sigurd's turn, but unfortunately he's stuck in the middle. Elizabeth then tried to help him, but what he feared happened. The giant snake appeared and attacked them. Alan used a flare gun to distract the snake so that Sigurd and Elizabeth could save themselves. But apparently the snake was still chasing them. Sigurd and the others immediately ran until they found an old bunker. The giant snake repeatedly attacked him, knocking on the door of the bunker, after being trapped in the bunker for a long time. Sigurd later revealed that the stone they found earlier was not a map, but a warning to anyone never to come to this island. The story is written by the son of the Viking king at that time who came to this place to kill this creature. Then Sigurd found a way for them to get out of this island by following the gas pipeline until the end. They found a way out. Finally Sigurd found out that Alan had brought a baby snake in his bag. Then Alan asked Sigurd to give him his bag. But suddenly the giant snake appeared and attacked Alan. The snake tried to get into the bunker, causing the bunker to collapse where debris fell on them. Fortunately, Ragnhild and Brage saved themselves by hiding in a used locker. The giant snake had entered the barracks, so they had to be very careful and not make any noise so that the snake would not know. After feeling safe, they came out of the locker, but it seemed the snake was smarter. The snake hid and immediately chased the two children away. Sigurd, who heard the children crying, tried his best to get up and go save his two children. When his two children were cornered by the snake, Sigurd appeared carrying a bag containing the baby snake. Frightened and nervous, Sigurd gave the baby snake bag to the mother snake, after which the mother snake left with the baby without attacking Sigurd. Then they all approached Elizabeth. Luckily she was still alive. Now, Sigurd realizes that this terrible place should not be known to the world, so they end up leaving the snake and the baby in their own place. Some time after this incident, Sigurd visited the museum where he worked previously. He decided to give up his job in archaeology and take a new position as a history professor. But before starting to teach, Sigurd decided to go on vacation to Spain with his 2 children and Elizabeth, his new girlfriend. They decide not to tell anyone about what happened on the island. So the secret will be kept forever. This is the end of the movie. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay updated on future videos. Leave a like to support the channel.